Imagine handing over your keys and watching the mechanic walk toward you with that serious look. They pull up trouble codes and tell you your engine needs major work. $2,000, maybe $3,000. You sign because you have no choice. But here is the truth they didn't tell you. The real problem was never a major failure. It was 5 tiny sensors coated in grime that stopped telling the truth to your computer. And instead of cleaning them, which takes minutes, they chose the path that pays their bills. Right now, your vehicle is suffering because of bad data. Not because anything is broken, but because the components reporting what is really happening are lying to your engine every single mile you drive. Today, we are exposing the 5 sensors responsible for more incorrect repairs than anything else in the industry. That rough idle at stoplights, that hesitation when you merge, that fuel economy that used to be great, and those check engine lights that keep coming back. Every single symptom traces back to sensors that just need attention, not replacement. I am going to show you what each sensor does, what dishonest shops charge when they misdiagnose it, and how you fix it yourself before you authorize a single dollar of unnecessary work. Stay with me through the end, because the last sensor on this list is the one mechanics pray you never learn about. There is no profit in mentioning it first. The oxygen sensor is the most replaced part in the entire automotive industry, and shops absolutely love it. Why? Because the name sounds technical, the labor sounds justified, and the customer almost never questions it. Your oxygen sensor lives in the exhaust stream, measuring oxygen and sending that data to the computer. The computer uses that reading to fine-tune fuel delivery. Here is where the scam happens. A trouble code like P171 appears, system running lean. The technician says your oxygen sensor failed and quotes $400 to $600 per sensor. Here is the reality they are not telling you. A lean code does not mean the oxygen sensor failed. It means the computer detected a lean condition. That condition has at least 6 possible causes. A dirty mass airflow sensor is one. A vacuum leak is another. Shops skip the diagnostic steps that cost nothing and go straight to the part that makes money. Before any oxygen sensor gets replaced, 3 things must be checked: intake leaks, fuel pressure, and the mass airflow sensor. This takes 20 minutes and costs $0. A customer came to me after a dealership replaced both upstream oxygen sensors on his Toyota truck for $780. The lean code came back within 300 miles. I checked the mass airflow sensor and found it heavily contaminated, cleaned it in 15 minutes, and the code never returned. Those oxygen sensors were working perfectly the whole time. So, before you authorize any oxygen sensor replacement, ask one question. Did you check or clean the mass airflow sensor first? Watch how uncomfortable that makes them. Next is the throttle position sensor, the component most commonly misdiagnosed as a transmission problem. A customer complains that the car hesitates or jerks between gears. The shop sees erratic throttle data and immediately starts talking transmission service. The throttle position sensor sits on your throttle body, monitoring how far open the throttle plate is. When you press the gas, this sensor tells the computer how much and how fast. The computer uses that to calculate fuel, ignition timing, and critically, transmission shift points. That last part is why it gets misdiagnosed. When the sensor sends erratic data, the transmission shifts at the wrong time. It feels exactly like a transmission problem. It is not. It is an $80 sensor giving bad data. But before you replace the sensor, look at the throttle body itself. Over 50,000 miles, carbon builds up on the throttle plate. That carbon physically interferes with throttle movement. The sensor reads inconsistent position because the throttle plate is actually moving inconsistently. Shops skip cleaning and jump to throttle body replacement at $400 to $900. Meanwhile, a $6 can of cleaner and 20 minutes fixes 70% of these cases. I had a customer convinced he needed a new transmission for $3,200. I cleaned the throttle body, reset the adaptation values, took 25 minutes. The vehicle drove perfectly. That transmission was never the problem. Clean the throttle body before you let anyone touch your transmission. Now, the MAP sensor, which most people confuse with the MAF. MAP stands for manifold absolute pressure. Instead of measuring airflow directly, it measures pressure inside the intake manifold. Your computer uses that pressure reading to calculate air density and fuel delivery. If your car has a turbo, the MAP sensor is even more critical because it monitors boost pressure. Bad MAP data means the computer cannot see boost correctly. Power drops and the turbo feels like it is not even there. Symptoms overlap with MAF problems, but one symptom points specifically to the MAP, surging under load on the highway. That is the MAP sensor losing pressure signal. Here is how shops get you. Map failure throws codes, and the technician quotes a new sensor for $150 to $300. But here is what they skip. The map sensor has a vacuum line to the intake manifold. That connection gets clogged with carbon. Blocked passage means bad pressure reading. Clean the passage and problem solved. A customer came with a 2016 Subaru WRX complaining weak boost and surging at highway speed. A shop quoted a new map sensor and boost leak test for $680. I checked the map sensor port and found it completely blocked with carbon. Cleared it with compressed air in 4 minutes. Boost came back immediately. Surging gone. That $680 repair was a 4-minute cleaning job. The crankshaft position sensor is different because when it fails, the symptoms are so dramatic that people panic. And panicking in a dealership is the most expensive thing you can do. The crankshaft sensor monitors the crankshaft as it spins and tells the computer where each piston is. Timing of fuel and spark depend entirely on this sensor. Here is what failure looks like. Engine cranks, but will not start. Or it starts fine cold, runs perfectly for 20 minutes, then suddenly stalls and will not restart for 30 minutes. That heat-related intermittent stall is the signature symptom. Here is where people get destroyed. Engine will not start. Customer panics. Tow truck to the dealership. Technician sees no crank signal and starts talking timing chain issues and engine damage. Customer authorizes a $2,000 diagnostic deep dive because they are scared. A failing crankshaft sensor is one of the cheapest fixes on this list. The part runs $40 to $120. Labor is 1 hour. But before replacing it, look at the connector. It lives low on the engine, exposed to road debris and heat cycling. Connector pins corrode. Corrosion creates intermittent signal loss. Clean the connector with electrical contact cleaner. Apply dielectric grease. Reconnect. Sometimes that is the entire fix. A $3 repair for a symptom shops quote $2,000 to diagnose. A guy towed his 2014 Ford pickup to 3 shops over 4 months with an intermittent no start. First shop replaced the fuel pump for $620. Problem came back. Second shop replaced the ignition module for $480. Problem came back. I cleaned the crankshaft sensor connector, applied dielectric grease, cleared codes. 18 months later, 0 issues. His 1,100 in previous repairs fixed nothing because nobody checked a corroded connector. So when your engine pulls a dramatic no start, do not panic. Panic makes that repair $2,000 instead of $80. Check the crankshaft sensor connector first. Finally, we have reached the sensor we have been building toward, the mass airflow sensor. This one is last because it exposes exactly how the diagnostic scam works every day on every rough idle complaint. The mass airflow sensor measures exactly how much air enters the engine. Your computer uses that number to calculate fuel delivery. Correct reading means perfect running. Wrong reading means everything breaks down. Here is what makes this sensor different. It uses sensing elements thinner than a human hair. Over time, a film builds up on those elements from oil, vapor, and dust. You cannot see this film. No warning light. Just slow contamination turning accurate readings into garbage, and that garbage data triggers everything. Lean codes, rich codes, oxygen sensor codes. Shops pull those codes and see a menu of expensive repairs. They never look at the sensor sending the bad data. Customer comes in with rough idle and check engine light. Technician pulls codes and recommends oxygen sensors, fuel injectors, and a catalytic converter. Quote, comes back $1,400 to $2,400. Customer authorizes because they trust expertise. Idle improves slightly because fresh oxygen sensors help the computer compensate better for the still dirty mass airflow data. 3 months later, same symptoms return. The cycle continues until someone finally cleans the mass airflow sensor. I have seen this on a 2019 Mazda SUV. The owner paid $2,400 across 2 dealership visits. Rough idle kept coming back. I cleaned the mass airflow sensor in her driveway. Idle smoothed instantly. Fuel economy went back up. Code never returned. Every dollar she spent was chasing symptoms of a dirty sensor nobody touched. Here is how you clean it yourself. Buy mass airflow sensor cleaner specifically. $8. Not carb cleaner or brake cleaner. Those destroy the element. Turn off ignition. Disconnect the connector. Remove the sensor. Hold it with the sensing element facing down. Spray 3 short bursts directly on the element. Let it dry. Never touch the element with anything. Reinstall and disconnect the battery for 10 minutes to clear adaptations. Start the engine and watch it smooth out. That is it. That is the $2,400 repair. 15 minutes and $8. Next time a shop quotes you $800 for rough idle, you look them in the eye and ask one question. Did you clean the mass airflow sensor first? Watch what happens to that quote. 5 sensors, all misdiagnosed daily, all fixable before you spend $1 at a shop. Drop your symptoms in the comments. Rough idle, hesitation, bad fuel economy. Tell me what your car is doing. and I will tell you which sensor to check first. If this video saved you money, hit subscribe because next week we are exposing another repair that shops charge thousands for that takes 20 minutes at home. You do not want to miss it.